Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Mercer County Football Show here on WBCB1490.com. That's Rich Fisher. I'm Mike Samsel. Thanks so much for joining us as always. We are presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. Boy, what a rough week for Lawrence. They came out... Oh, wait, no, that was last year. Yeah. Opening day win over Hamilton, a huge one, 26-10 in Hamilton's house. What a great start to the season.
How about congratulations to those Cardinals. After an 0-10 season, they snapped a 13-game losing streak. So way to go with Nate Jones's team. We're happy for them. Devon Hemingway had a huge game for the Cardinals. We'll get to that a little later in the show about everything that he did. But he was an offensive and defensive force. Middle linebacker Dan Totley led the defensive dominance in the game. And Chris Ermer here at BCB, who did that game, was very impressed with Jacoby Sherrard on defense too. So some great stuff by the Cards to get their season underway. They were talking after the game about how they're bigger and stronger this year, so let's see how that pays off for the rest of the season. But congratulations, Lawrence. You never like to see a team go through that much misery, and we're glad that you're back on top of things.
Yeah, and their game this coming week will be against Steiner. We'll talk about that coming up in a little bit, but let's circle back to the Spartans. A good win for them as well against Northern Burlington.
That's Dan Caruso gets the Ulcer of the Week award for that one. They were. How about this, Mike? There was a tie and 5 lead changes in this game. The last lead change coming when Kyle Gankowitz hit Angelo Sanger late in the game with a 29-yard touchdown pass, put Steiner up 20-17. But this game was not over by a long shot. Northern Burlington drove back down the field. With 20-some seconds left, attempted a 30-yard field goal. Caruso called timeout to ice the kicker. Finally came back out. 30-yard field goal went wide right. Spartans escaped with a 20-17 victory. Dodged the bullet and got a break, too, because Northern nearly had the winning touchdown pass a few seconds before the field goal. Kid went up for a leaping catch and just couldn't quite bring it down in the end zone.
Yeah.
So big win for the Spartans to start the season. And Jordan Morrison also had a touchdown run in that game for Steinert. So good start for the Spartans.
Certainly is. That'll be our game of the week coming up on Saturday on WBCB 1490 AM and WBCB1490.com. You'll be able to watch that one live. Chris Emmer, Rich Fisher will have all the live play-by-play. That should be a great game. You can listen to it on the AM 1490 or watch it on WBCB1490.com. One of the great feel-good moments from last week over at the Mayer Athletic Complex. It was a great feeling for Robbinsville to get that win out of the way on the night they honored their fallen superintendent.
Yeah, well, actually, technically, they did it. They had the game that night, and then they had the whole dedication Saturday, the day after. But it was the whole weekend type of thing. So they, knowing this was going to happen, for those of you who don't know, Dr. Stephen Mayer, tragically killed, hit by a car last spring. Superintendent of schools at Robbinsville. Probably not a more popular guy on earth, the things everybody says about him. On Saturday afternoon, Robbinsville named their athletic complexes the Dr. Stephen, what is the exact correct name here?
Stephen J. Mayer Athletic
Stephen
Complex.
J. Mayer Athletic Complex. So the Ravens celebrated the night before by taking a 14-12 win over Delran. Taylor Twomley, one of 3 triplets, hit Chris Coran with a fourth quarter touchdown pass to win it. Twomley had 11 completions, 7 of them went to Coran for 99 yards. Twomley also scored on a 5-yard run. This was Robbinsville's first opening day win since beating Palmyra in 2011. So just a great overall weekend for Robbinsville.
Yeah, it really was. And when we come back here on the Mercer County Football Show, me and Rich will give you our team and athletes of the week. This is the Mercer County Football Show presented by the St. Francis Medical Center on WBCB1490.com.
Hello, this is Acting Mercer County Prosecutor Angelo Honorfree, and I hope you're enjoying today's game. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish all of our Mercer County teams the best of luck, and I would also like to urge parents to be involved in your children's activities. Urge them to participate in after-school activities, whether it's on the athletic field or in the school play or marching band. Participation in these programs is a great learning experience for your child. Parents, please stay involved. This is your Acting Mercer County Prosecutor Angelo Honorfree, and I hope you enjoyed today's game.
Merrill Reese, here to tell you about my good friends at Haldeman Ford Subaru on Route 33 in Hamilton Township. For outstanding sales and service, you can depend on the folks at Haldeman Ford Subaru for the best value on new and pre-owned Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs, along with a great selection of value-priced new and pre-owned Subarus. And no one offers the service that Haldeman does in their huge, state-of-the-art service facility. Service so great that many area municipalities and commercial fleets get their service performed by Haldeman Ford Subaru. From Langhorne to Princeton, folks like you to commercial fleets trust the name Haldeman for sales and service. Haldeman Ford Subaru, Route 33 in Hamilton Township.
Hi again, everyone, and welcome back to the Mercer County Football Show here on WBCB1490.com with Rich Fisher. I am Mike Samsel. It's the time that you've all eagerly awaited. It's our Team and Player of the Week. Here. Yeah, I feel like we got to get our video editor to put like some stars and music and all that stuff in the background. Tough budget here at WBCB. We'll try and make it happen, but I wouldn't hold your breath.
This is what you call winging it.
My team of the week, I'll go first, has to be the Lawrence Cardinals, getting a 26-10 win over Hamilton. What a great week for Lawrence. You mentioned breaking a 13-game losing streak, going into Hamilton to do it, a team that was a playoff team last year. All of a sudden, the expectations for Lawrence might have jumped up quite a bit.
Yeah, you never know, Mike. You never know. And Lawrence would have been my team of the week, too, but we've made a pact. We each have to have a different team of the week and player of the week, spread the joy around.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, you can't go wrong with those Robbinsville Ravens. As we just mentioned, a very emotional weekend. They went out and won one for their superintendent on Friday night, won on opening day for the first time in 5 years after losing their quarterback, their leading rusher last year. Great start for the Ravens, so congratulations to Robbinsville and Lawrence as our teams of the week.
I'll go on to the player of the week now. I'm going to pick a Damian Doggett from Ewing. He was one of those players that we said there weren't a whole lot of stars coming back from Mercer County. Well, he was one of them. And how great was the Damian Doggett on Friday night?
He was a touchdown machine, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, touchdown machine in their victory. So we can run through his stats a little later when we do the previews.
Yep.
But yeah, Damian had a heck of a night. And I will, since I couldn't pick Lawrence as my team, I will pick their star two-way player, Devon Hemingway, who we said we'd get to his stats later. He rushed for 88 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he returned the first of his 2 interceptions, 65 yards for a touchdown. So he had 88 yards rushing, 2 interceptions, and 3 touchdowns on the night. What a way to start your season.
Certainly was. And when we come back here on the Mercer County Football Show, we'll take a look at a preview of the upcoming week. That's Rich. I'm Mike. We're presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. We'll be right back.
Jerry Blavitt here to tell you about St. Francis Medical Center, the heart hospital in the city of Trenton. St. Francis Medical Center is one of the region's top cardiac care centers, serving all of Mercer, Bucks, and Burlington counties. Their staff of highly trained physicians provide state-of-the-art heart care to patients with cardiovascular disease and pride themselves as being the only regional heart center to offer a full spectrum of individualized services. And Consumer Report ranks St. Francis Medical Center in the top 10 hospitals in New Jersey for safety, and the #1 hospital in Mercer County, St. Francis Medical Center, the Heart Hospital.
Welcome back to the Mercer County Football Show here on WBCB1490.com with Rich Fisher. I'm Mike Samsel. It's a pleasure to have you along with us. The show presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton. Time to take a look at the upcoming games this week. First, we'll start off with one we have on the WBCB Sports Network. It'll be on Friday night, 6:45. We'll begin our pregame show coverage on 107.7 FM and 107.7thebronx.com. Wes Euler and Rich Fisher will have to call this game. We welcome Wes to the WBCB Sports Network. I'll be on my way out to the buzzing metropolis of Edinburgh, Pennsylvania for
Edinburgh.
Westchester University football. So I'll be away this week, but Wes Euler will give you a great call as it's the 1-0 Nottingham North Stars taking on the 0-1 Hopewell Valley Bulldogs.
Yeah, and this game is going to be a lot closer than last week's results indicated. Nottingham took a 21-7 win over Hightstown. Stars did what they had to do. They have 2 defensive tackles that you're going to be hearing about all year, and Kadir Nelson and Devion Stokes. They're both seniors, over 6 foot. These guys just wreak havoc on the inside, and then Nottingham's got a lot of speed on the outside, so they do a great job. Hopewell is coming off really tough 42-0 loss to Rancogus Valley, and I saw the Bulldogs offensive coordinator Rob Radis on Saturday at Nottingham, and he said RV, they're gonna challenge for that Group 5 title this year. They're the real deal. Iverson Clement rushed for 211 yards. He's a stud back. But what Hopewell's got to worry about is Nottingham's stable of backs. They ran about 7 or 8 guys, and freshman Deontay Nicholson, who John Adams has been really saying a lot of good things about in the preseason. He ran for 70 yards and a touchdown, and he looked good. He looked tough. He didn't look like a freshman. And quarterback Deontay West also ran for 70 yards and a touchdown. At the beginning of the year, Adams thought he might split time with West and a sophomore, but he decided because of West's physical capabilities, let's go with him now and see how it plays out. So Deontay West is the man right now, and we'll see. Hopewell obviously is going to want to come back from that 42-0 loss. And, they're back in their own county and everything like that. I think it's going to be a pretty close game.
Yeah, it should be a good one. Again, you can hear it Friday night on 107.7 FM and 107.7thebronx.com. Our next game should be a darn good one. Allentown and Shawnee.
Yeah, look, what did you read right off my thing?
I sure did, but I did it in a broadcastery way. So I just kind of peeked down, stole the note, looked at the camera, brought everyone into the conversation with us, and then you called me out on it.
Yeah, I am. I'm throwing you right under the bus. I have written here, this should be a darn good football game. Nothing clever, but, well, I was at Allentown Friday night. They looked unstoppable against North. They scored on their first play from scrimmage. Ricky Mottram went 78 yards on the first play from scrimmage. They went to a 28-0 lead. Jordan Winston, Mottram, and Aiden Chavis combined to rush for 342 yards. Chavis had 141. He wasn't even heard from last year, so there's another threat for Allentown. And they beat West Windsor North 49-13. Shawnee is a big Burlington County school. Shawnee's always got some good athletes down there. They had a running offense last week with a kid named Jack Lazinski and Dan Wigley. That'll offer Allentown a different kind of challenge to stop, because last week West Windsor filled the air with footballs with Brian Murphy. So now they're going to have to come up and stop a running team. And Allentown, even though Murphy threw for over 200 yards, Allentown sacked him 7 times last week. So it's like Mottram told me after the game. They gave up a few big plays for the most part. He thought their defense played pretty well.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think this is a really good kind of measuring stick for Allentown in this game. Game 1, it was kind of hard to get a read on him. Game 2, West Windsor Plainsboro North. Allentown's just playing in a different league than West Windsor Plainsboro North. I think this is going to let us know where the Redbirds really are when it comes to state playoffs. So I think this will be a really good game to keep an eye on. West Windsor Plainsboro North, West Windsor Plainsboro South, playing early in the season. Both 0-1, but the battle for West Windsor Plainsboro will happen on Friday night.
Yep, the Pirates are still trying to snap a losing streak that dates back to 2014. South defense was just picked apart by Doggett last week, who we also talk about. Some of his stats, Damian threw for almost 300 yards and 4 touchdowns last week. Despite being so that could be the fact that South's defense. I misread what I had written here.
There you go.
Despite the fact the fact that South's defense was picked apart by a passing game bodes well for the Knights, because Murphy, who, if you remember, his brother Kevin Murphy a few years ago was very good for West Windsor North. Murphy completed 12 of 14 for 218 yards. He had 1 interception, but he threw 2 touchdown passes. He showed a really strong arm. He threw a good ball. Showed a lot of mobility, getting away from pass rush and things like that. Even though he was sacked 7 times, it could have been a lot more. So the Pirates are going to have to figure out a way to slow him down, because first it was Doggett and now Murphy. If you're looking for a highlight from South last week, Scott Cochran completed 10 of 18 for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. So makes you think that the air could be filled with footballs out in West Windsor Plainsboro this weekend.
Could be a long one on Friday night with the way these two teams like to pass. Another one on Friday night, matchup of 0-1 teams, Princeton and Hightstown.
Yeah, this looks like a fairly even game. It's two teams that are rebuilding. I'm sure both of them are looking at it as a winnable game. I was at the Hightstown-Nottingham game. Hightstown couldn't do anything on offense. It only had about 84 yards total offense. But their defense played really scrappy, and the same guys on defense were on offenses. They played a lot of guys both ways. And if you remember, Saturday was just brutal. It was hot and humid and everything else. And these kids were getting worn down, and they hung in there against a really, quick, fast Nottingham team. They gave up a late touchdown, but Coach Ethan Jaros was just thrilled with the way his defense played. As a matter of fact, during the middle of the game, he pointed at me and said, "You better make sure you're right about how good our defense is playing." So I was trembling, and I said, "Yes, I will do that." Matt DiCristofaro, the new quarterback, he showed some pretty good mobility back there, some good running ability, and Johnny Ronde had a few nice runs for them. Princeton lost to Pemberton 33-6. This game was rescheduled from Saturday. They rescheduled it due to the heat. Pemberton scored early on a trick play, went up to a 20-0 lead. One bright spot for Princeton was their new quarterback, Vince Doran. Looked like they developed a pretty good chemistry with Jacob Green. Green had 8 catches for 82 yards. And both of those players, Coach Charlie Gallagher said, played well defensively. So 2 teams looking for their first win. Both think they can get it, and we'll see how that unfolds.
Also on Friday night, we'll have Ewing on the road at Pemberton. We said the Blue Devils could be pretty good this year. Again, this is another measuring stick game, I think, for a team down in Burlington County in Pemberton.
Yeah, for both teams. I think it's a good measuring stick for both teams. Ewing's going to have to watch Hornet speedster Jaquay Redding in the backfield. He ravaged Princeton. He ran for 170 yards on 19 carries. They also have receivers for big play potential, William Hodges and Isaiah Sturdivant. They both caught 2 passes for a combined 190 yards.
Wow. And
Jordan Heck is a receiver, but he's a heck of a passer too. He threw 2 passes for 117 yards and a touchdown. So Princeton's going to Ewing's going to have to watch out for a little trickery there.
Right.
Although I don't know if you go to the well 2 weeks in a row with something like that. But Pemberton has an equally tough challenge in trying to hold down Damian Doggett, our player of the week. Damian ran all over the place against West Windsor South. He bought a lot of time with his scrambling ability, threw 4 touchdowns, completed 11 of 18 passes for 294 yards. Taylor Gordy, he caught 4 balls for 118 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So that could be an exciting combination, Mike.
Yeah, and Taylor Gordy could have been another strong candidate for our player of the week. Don't think we forgot about him as well. Another game we have coming up on Friday night. It will be out at Notre Dame, as Hamilton will take on Notre Dame. 2 teams looking to bounce back after tough losses, one to Lawrence. And Notre Dame just had a really tough game. I believe they also played on Saturday due to the heat.
No, they played on Saturday because Friday night the officials didn't show up. Something happened with a scheduling snafu, and the refs weren't aware of it, and they didn't show up on Friday night, and so they had to move the game to Saturday night the same time, which it really didn't bother Lenape, Burlington Township.
Yeah.
Township had to drive up Friday night, had to go back home, drive up against Saturday, and they still left with a 42-0 win over the rebuilding Irish. Township went up 35-0 at the half, just cruised from there. Notre Dame, that was probably a game for Notre Dame, see what it's going to have to work on, and I guess it's all what it had to work on. Same thing for Hamilton. I mean, I'm sure that, the Hornets were shocked, becoming the first team to lose to Lawrence in 14 games. It was only 13-10 at halftime, but they gave up 13 unanswered second half starts, and that's got to be bad for Hamilton, because Tom Hoagland told me before the season, the key to their success is getting off to a good start, and that's obviously not a good start. So you want to talk about a key early season game? This is it for 2 teams that if they want to get something moving, they got to do it Friday night, and one team's going to have a win and get some momentum, the other's going to be 0-2 and really looking for a win.
This would be a game where George O'Gorman would be really upset about the West Jersey Football League and talk about this team all the way from South Jersey and nobody's going to make the trip and all that stuff. So just know, George, we didn't forget about you, and I preemptively got your complaint about the West Jersey Football League out for this one.
Well,
for the first time ever, Audubon takes on Robbinsville.
Yeah, well, let's just go back. He's not the only one. This West Jersey Football League has created a lot of bad matchups. I mean, let's be blunt. It's some of these teams are coming up, and they're just not, and Mercer teams just aren't in their league, and we've lost a lot of good rivalries with these Mercer games. You're not seeing certain old rivals play each other and things like that. And there's a lot of people that are unhappy with this West Jersey Football League. That's another issue for another day, but George isn't the only one on that. Audubon and Robbinsville, speaking of the West Jersey Football League, I'm not even sure if they're not this isn't a division game.
Right.
This is the first time these 2 teams will ever meet in the history of Robbinsville High School. And how about this, Mike? Robbinsville is going for the first 2-0 start in school history.
That would be awesome.
If they can get that, yeah. Coach Andrew Patterson was talking in the preseason. He says these games are always a challenge because they know nothing about Audubon. They've never scouted them before. And obviously, same thing for Audubon. They don't know anything. The The Ravens really coming off a tough win over Delran, and Audubon is coming off a 48-7 loss to West Deptford. Now, before you get too excited about that, the Green Wave went 5-5 last year, and they lost to West Deptford 66-12.
Wow.
So let's just say West Deptford is either that good or maybe that game just shouldn't even be on the schedule, because Audubon was a decent team last year. They got crushed by West Deptford. So let's not take this loss last week and say that they're going to stink and Robbinsville's going to roll over them.
Right.
Here's what's interesting now. Both of these teams were Group 2 last year. Audubon has now dropped to South Jersey Group 1. Robbinsville's been pumped up from Central Jersey to South Jersey Group 3.
Oh, interesting.
So if you're going to look at it by that way, now you got a Group 3 school going against a Group 1 school.
Right.
So in the battle of numbers, Robbinsville has the advantage, but that never, we'll see how that plays out on the field, because like we said, it was both Group 2 last year.
Yeah, for the first time ever, these two teams are going to meet. It'll be a fun matchup.
Historic
Matchup. And Robbinsville looking for some history as well, looking to go 2-0 for the first time ever in school history. That was a lot of Friday night games. That means we only got 2 games on Saturday, and they're both on the WBCB Sports Network.
How about that?
First one coming up at 12 o'clock, 11:45. We'll begin the pregame show on 1490 AM and WBCB1490.com. Lawrence, it's done it. Chris Emmer, Rich Fisher will have the call of that one. Should be a really interesting game and a good test for both teams.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for this game. Lawrence is coming off a huge win over Hamilton. And all of a sudden, what looked like, if you think the things are going to keep going bad for Lawrence, you're going to think, all right, Steiner will just come in and beat Lawrence or whatever. Now, this is really an attractive game. It's really an attractive early season game. Obviously, Lawrence's confidence has to be sky high after what they did. Their defense was really strong against Hamilton, but now they're going to have some challenges. Jordan Morrison, who we mentioned earlier, averaged 6.4 yards a carry against Northern Burlington. Xavier Thompson, another back for them, gives them a nice compliment. And Kyle Jankowicz was really efficient running the offense. Then you got Jordan Goodars, who kicked a couple of field goals. We talked about him last week.
Right.
He's a dangerous kicker. So they have, they have some weapons. But now the Cards, as we saw, feature a very tough back in Devon Hemingway. Steiner has to figure out a way to slow him down. And, if you can't do that, Hemingway can really carry a team. And I don't know why I'm saying this, but I wrote it down, and I get the feeling this is going to be a game decided by a big defensive play. Maybe a pick six, maybe a turnover at the end. I don't know. I'm basing that on nothing but a hunch.
Two evenly matched teams, so you think it's going to be one of those plays where maybe not a great play wins it, but a mistake may lose it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, something like that.
Another game we have coming up on the WBCB Sports Network. 12:45 is the pregame show. 1 o'clock is the kickoff in this game. Corey Cohen and Sean Miller will have all the live play-by-play as Eastern takes on Trenton. Again, that's on 107.7 The Bronx and 1077thebronx.com. This is usually an interesting game every year. Eastern provides a good opponent for Trenton.
Yeah, they do. Well, Eastern's, but I'll tell you what, the Vikings have fallen on hard times, Mike.
Okay.
Trenton's coming off a 24-0 loss to Lenape. They've lost to Lenape now for the second straight year, but it was a lot closer last year. Trenton had just 5 yards of offense in the first half and finished with just 63 yards for the game. Their deepest penetration for the entire game was the Indians 37, or was the Vikings 37 before stalling.
Yeah.
Thing is, the good news for Trenton is Eastern's coming off a 36-0 loss to Clearview.
Right.
The Vikings, each of the last 2 years, were at 1-9, and Trenton beat them both years. They beat them 39-12 last year, and it was a little closer the year before. So if you're looking at this on paper, this could be a nice bounce-back game for Trenton.
Right. Well, as you said, they were a once proud program. When I hosted the Mercer County Football Show, they were a proud program.
The 2 years before that, I think they went to the playoffs. They've been good. I mean, this is Adam Tagliaferri. Who was the guy that went to Penn State that got paralyzed? Adam Talaferra.
Yeah, Adam Talaferra. I knew there wasn't a G in there, but I couldn't quite.
Yeah, he went there. They've had some great teams over the years, so I'm not sure what's going on down there. But, hey, Mike, can I just put out a request before we go off the air?
I mean, it's your show, too.
Well, we want to do these players of the week. We only have access in the newspapers to the offensive stats. Very, very rarely do we see the defensive stats posted online. Mm-hmm. If you're a coach and you have a defensive player who you think is worthy of player of the week.
Sure.
Can you just email me at richfisher, 3 @AOL.com. It's RICHFISHER, 3 at AOL.com. Just put Player of the Week in the subject line.
Yep.
And if it's a defensive player, or even if it's an offensive lineman,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
I mean, if you guys had a big rushing day or something, a big passing day, and your guy dominated his guy, because we can only go on what we see in the paper. We're only at a couple games. So if you want to help out and get your kid a little extra exposure that he might not get, feel free to email me and let me know, and we'll always take that into consideration.
Absolutely. I'll throw mine out there as well. MSAMSEL at WBCB1490.com. You can send it my way as well, and I'll make sure it gets to Fish, because Fish is the one who really puts this whole thing together. I'm just here to be the pretty face.
And you do that so well.
That's right, John Mike. We're presented by the St. Francis Medical Center, your heart hospital in the city of Trenton, and we'll see you next week.